I am very grateful to have this opportunity to be in your festival of gratitude. My very, very intimately profound gratitude to Nityananda Charan Prabhu for bringing us all together today and for devoting his whole life to help each of us to find and to realize the great purpose and treasure of life in bhakti, in love for Krishna. Thank you, Nityananda Charan. Janmadya Shalyataha. The Brahma Sutra tells that the Absolute Truth is the source of everything that exists. I will only speak a few minutes because I want all of us to have the opportunity to hear Nityananda Charan Prabhu speaking.
They have been hearing me for 2 years, so we have enough time to hear from you. That's what they are excited for.
I will not ask you if he's correct. But everything is coming from God, from Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. Krishna tells, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything, everyone emanates from me. The wise who know this perfectly engage in my loving service and worship me with all their hearts. Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, I am the taste of water. I am the light of the sun and the moon. I'm every living being's ability. The mosquito only knows how to drink your blood because God gives the intelligence and the ability. Every living being, where the birds learn to fly. Krishna tells, I'm the intelligence of the intelligence. I'm the strength of the strong. Aham bija pradapita. I'm the father and the mother of all living beings. Om Purnam Ada Purnimadam. In the Ishopanishad, it is described that the Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, is the complete whole. Not only everything emanates from him, he is in everything, he is outside of everything, he is, by his expanded energies, everything is existing. And yet still, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana. He has a transcendental personality, form, body that is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. And that form of Krishna is the source of everything that exists and the cause of all causes. Parasya Shaktir Vivadai Vashruyate. The Lord has infinite, all-pervading energies. Material energy, spiritual energy, and every spirit, every living being, every jivatma, Mamayavam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Is Krishna's energy, a part and parcel of Krishna. So we are discussing today, I just learned, gratitude. Where is gratitude coming from? And where is the full, supreme, perfect gratitude? In God, in Krishna. Krishna tells in Gita, Patram pushpam palamto yam yome bhakta prayachati. If one even offers me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or some water, if it's offered with devotion, Krishna says, I accept it. Krishna, who is the proprietor of everything that exists, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, is infinitely grateful to any offering of devotion that is presented to him. We read in the scriptures of kings and queens and simple people who are just living on the ground in the forest. Everyone has a perfect opportunity to please Krishna. Samsadhyar Haritoshanam. And Krishna is so grateful. We read about Sudama Vipra in the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was Krishna's classmate when they were children in Ujjain, at the ashram of Antidesh of Sandipani Muni. Sudama was a very simple, poor Brahmin. He and his wife, they were in great poverty. Spiritually, they were very wealthy. But still, their house was just a little hut, straw hut. They had to beg for food, and they hardly got any food. They really had no possessions. They lived very simple. Sudama Vipra was happy because he was finding his joy within his heart, within his love and devotion to Krishna. But still, on this external level, life was a struggle. So his good wife, does anyone know her name? Do you know her name? Thank you for not knowing her name now. At least I don't have to think that I forgot it. But she wasn't thinking of herself, she was thinking of him. Why should he live with so little, with nothing, not eat properly? So she was thinking selflessly of the well-being of Sudama. And she said, your old friend, who you are, Sudama had not seen Krishna for many, many years. When Krishna was living in Mathura, just after he liberated Kamsa, and he stayed in Mathura on the request of Vasudeva and Devaki. That means he was still a teenager, hardly even that. That's when he went to school with Sudama. And now, after many years in Mathura, he was living in Dwarka. And he was married to so many queens. And each one had their own, each had palaces. Palaces, each was more magnificent than Indra's palace in Swargaloka. And Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, all of these, they were manifestations of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. So she said, why don't you just go to Dwarka and ask Krishna to help? And he didn't want to go. Why did he finally agree to go? To make his wife happy. She had no desire except to make him happy. And he had no desire except to make her happy. How could I ask Krishna for something? And if I go, I have to offer Krishna something. But they had nothing to give. And I believe you all know this story. She went out to beg and got very low quality, because that's what people give beggars usually, chipped rice. Poa. I learned a little Hindi since I... Poa, a little, just... And it was just wrapped up in a little piece of cloth, old cloth. She didn't have a bag or the gift I received today, so many beautiful packages and boxes. And we take it so much for granted. But she just took, a little piece of their clothes and cut it off and made a little bag and wrapped the chipped rice in it. And Sudama, of course, was eager to meet Krishna. But he accepted this assignment because if my wife is thinking that I'm suffering due to poverty, she must be suffering. So for her, I should go. The science of bhakti is so deep. It is described in Vrindavan. When the gopis make themselves beautiful, they only do it for Krishna's happiness. In fact, Krishna likes to see his devotees happy. So devotees' happiness are for Krishna's happiness. I remember sometimes my guru, Srila Prabhupada, would say, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So our happiness was his happiness. So if I'm not happy, then he's not happy. So therefore, let me be happy so that he'll be happy. And you know what happens when you think like that? You actually become happy. Really happy. Not just an egoistic, temporary kind of happiness. So Sudama walked. I believe he was living near Porbandar in Gujarat today. And he walked to Dwarka. And when he saw the magnificence of that holy city, and the luxuries and the parks and the castles and the palaces and the incredible gardens, it was like nothing the world knows today. And he was in great awe seeing this. And there were so many gates. And as soon as Krishna learned that he was there, he was just brought directly to Krishna's inner bedroom, where Krishna was sitting with Rukmini. And Krishna's Dwarkadish. He's the Lord of Dwarka. He's Jagadishwar, Jagannath. He's the Lord of the universe. And he's sitting with the goddess of fortune, Rukmini. And Sudama comes in, very simple, raggedy little clothes, probably the only set of clothes he had. Something like this. Krishna got up from his seat, embraced Sudama, put Sudama Vipra on his own seat, washed Sudama's lotus feet. And Sudama didn't know what to do. He knew that Krishna's God. On every level, he's such a superior person. But yet Krishna's giving him his seat. He's sitting on the floor beside him. He's massaging Sudama's feet. And Rukmini is fanning him with the chamara. And how is it possible Sudama Vipra could accept that? Because it made Krishna happy that he accepted. Because Krishna was not just doing it as a formality. He was doing it with deep, pure, infinite love and gratitude. They spoke for some time. They reminisced about their past, like what we sometimes do. And Krishna asked Sudama, "Did you bring me anything?" Because Krishna knows everything. Now Krishna just personally, with Rukmini and all of their other associates, they served Sudama a wonderful feast of the best possible prasad in elegant dinnerware. And Sudama, Krishna's feeding me this most opulent food. And he's sitting me on golden beds. And he's living in this wonderful palace. How could I give him this old rag filled with chipped rice that was begged from somebody's house? He said, "Krishna, I don't have anything." But Krishna knows everything. Bhagavad Gita tells that the Supreme Lord, he knows everything that's happened in the past, all things in the present, and all things that are to come. And he says, Vedaham samadhitani varatamanani charjana, bhavashyani chabhutani mam tu vedana kashta. And I also know every living being. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hridesherjana tishtati. Krishna's in the heart of everyone as Paramatma and is conscious of every thought, every desire, every word, every action that we are doing now, that we have ever done in the past, in all of our previous lives and knows everything in the future and inconceivably does not interfere with our free will. How do you know and not know? If Krishna cannot know something, if he cannot not know, then that's a limitation. That means we could do something Krishna can't. So Krishna, in his supreme knowledge and his supreme perfection, can know and not know. It's all within his knowing. Achintya Shakti. To understand God, the first principle is inconceivable potencies. Beyond the jurisdiction of human intelligence, infinitely beyond, can only be known by the Lord's grace, when the Lord reveals himself. There's no other way. That is why Krishna tells in Gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. Only by devotion do I reveal myself. If we're doing all sorts of pious activities, we can get higher levels of enjoyment and even elevation to higher heavenly planets. Through the cultivation of yoga, we can achieve supernatural powers. Supernatural powers, we could read people's minds. We could actually, not just pretend and do tricks, we could actually know what's going to happen in the future. We could see somebody's past. Supernatural powers, yogis could actually travel to different planets. And through knowledge and renunciation, we can achieve mukti, liberation. But Krishna describes none of these processes can we know God as he is. We can attain various spiritual levels of enlightenment, but to actually know God, Krishna says, only through devotion, when I'm pleased, I reveal myself. So, Krishna knew not only that Sudama brought the chipped rice, but he knew exactly where it was. It was probably like pushed in his dhoti somewhere. And Krishna, very expertly, he grabbed it, and he snatched it, and he opened it. And Sudama was crying, no, don't eat that. It's not worthy of you. Because chipped rice, it wasn't like soaked in water, and it wasn't, sometimes we put dahi or condensed milk, or we make chipped rice really nice. We put peas and spices. But this was just dry, freshly bagged from some barrel in someone's house. Krishna ate. And when he was about to take another handful, Rukmini said, please don't take any more, because even she couldn't bear to see Krishna eating this, because she was one of the cooks that was making all nice preparations. She said, by eating one morsel, you have already fulfilled the all the desires of the universe. So Sudama Vipra left the palace after they spent the day and night together. And as he was walking home, he was so happy. He spent the day and the night with Krishna. And Krishna was supremely loving and merciful. And Krishna was so grateful just that he came. And so grateful for the spirit of why and how he was living. So Sudama Vipra was in this state of ananda, in ecstasy. But at the same time, there was a certain sadness in his heart. How was he going to explain to his wife? He didn't ask Krishna for anything. He was supposed to go and ask for help. He didn't ask. So suddenly, he thought he was lost, because he went just a direction for home, and after walking so many miles and miles from Dwarka to Porbandar, he saw a beautiful palace like Krishna's almost. He was thinking, where am I? And then his wife came out. And she was dressed like some of you. at like your daughter's marriage or something. But she was beautiful garments and jewelry. And he was seeing all these beautiful people and parks and lakes with swans and trees with singing birds and wonderful castle. Thinking, where am I? And this lady came up to him and she was smiling and she was crying. And then he identified, this is my wife. And they didn't say anything. They just looked at each other. And he knew that Krishna manifested this. And she may not have known all the details, but she knew that Krishna manifested this. And all they could do was look at each other and cry in gratitude to Krishna. But they weren't crying in gratitude for all the wealth and the opulence and all that comes with that. They were grateful because they had received Krishna's love. And it's interesting because Sukadeva Goswami describes they lived this, even though they accepted what Krishna gave them. They lived with the same simplicity, pure love, devotion, and humility as they were before. But still they were utilizing all these things simply for Krishna's service. So what is the nature of Krishna's gratitude? That little bit of chipped rice, he was grateful on an external level, which is kind of like a detail. He gave them like perhaps billions of rupees worth of property and luxuries. But actually, Krishna gave himself to them. The fact that they could be grateful to Krishna and feel Krishna's presence and feel the ecstasy of Krishna's presence was the ultimate gift. Traditionally here in India, we go to Mother Ganga and with our hands, we take as much water as fit in our little hands and we say a prayer. And when that prayer is sincere, well, we're offering our gratitude to Mother Ganga. Then when we offer that water, we offer our love, our devotion, and love and devotion cannot exist without the quality of gratitude. I remember once I was giving a lecture at this corporation, and somebody asked, if we have so many things, what do we have to do to be grateful? Because sometimes when you have too much, you take things for granted, you're not grateful. Gratitude is actually just being honest. I can't speak without God's help. I can't think without Krishna's help. My family, my loved ones, the air I breathe, the sunlight, everything. To be ungrateful is actually just to be dishonest. We're thinking this is mine. When we have a grateful heart, our heart is open to receive God's love. God's love is like the sun. It's shining for everyone. But we can only receive it according to bhakti, which is we're grateful. But all gratitude belongs to God too. We just have a little particle. Krishna is supremely grateful. Mother Ganga is the energy, a manifestation of the goddess of fortune, of Srimati Radharani's mercy. How much water is in Ganga? How many handfuls? I don't believe any computer, or what do they call it, AI? I don't think they could ever calculate how many handfuls of water is in Mother Ganga. From Gangotri to Ganga Sagar. But yet, when we offer with love and devotion, with gratitude, not just for what we have, but conscious of the love, the mercy of God. And all those who on behalf of God, on one way of love, have helped us. When we're actually grateful to Krishna, we're truly and purely grateful for anyone who's ever helped us. And actually, spontaneously and naturally, as we love God, even those who are trying to hurt us, we naturally become grateful. Not necessarily for what they're doing, but they're giving me an opportunity to take turning to God very seriously. Prahlad, He didn't approve of Hiranyakashipu, but he was grateful that in this situation I'm turning to God. So gratitude, when we're grateful to Krishna, because ultimately everything that exists, the negative and the positive things, the origin is in God's supreme love. How things are always changing in this material world and the power of time and birth, death, old age, and disease. God's love is the origin of everything, and ultimately, the purpose of whatever's existing is to turn back to God's love. When we learn the gratitude and we're blessed by Krishna with grace, then gratitude is no longer a subjective reaction to a person or situation. It's a state of consciousness. When we live in gratitude, even injustices that we have to fight against. Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter, Krishna's telling Arjuna, everyone has to perform their duties. Krishna said, I come to this world as an incarnation to perform my duties. He doesn't need to do that. He's not lacking anything. He's doing it out of love. But to realize that love, to perform our duties. And his duty was to fight.
Hare Krishna. Can we please request everyone to keep your phones on silent? It's happening too often.
I'm very grateful for that cell phone. It's actually a beautiful song. And everybody who was sleeping in my talk, it woke everyone up. So I'm very, very grateful.
Maharaj, it is actually very meaningful. It says, may this day come again and again.
And I'm also grateful for Nityananda Charan Prabhu for telling you to turn the cell phone off. So, this attitude of gratitude. It's a state of consciousness. So when we make that offering to Mother Ganga, for Mother Ganga, that handful of water, because it's offered with gratitude and devotion, it's more valuable to her than all the water in the Ganga. Although we're taking it from her, and it's only an insignificant little part of what she's given us, or what she has, still it's more valuable to her. And similarly, Sudama Vipra's chipped rice. To Krishna, it was more valuable than all of his palaces, because it was offered with sincere devotion. At the same time, all of his palaces were more valuable. Everything is of infinite value when it's offered with devotion. And in this beautiful story, Krishna's teaching us the nature of gratitude. And how Sudama Vipra and his saintly wife, how they manifested that gratitude. They were filled with love, filled with overwhelming emotion that Krishna was so kind to them. Everything they had for the rest of their lives, they didn't leave the palace. They could have renounced it and said, actually, we were happier in the straw hut. Krishna wanted them there. He provided that for them. So they simply used it all for Krishna's happiness. Seva in the path of bhakti is the means by which we express and also develop and expand our devotion, our realization. Krishna describes in Gita that whatever we have, whatever we know, whoever we are, just offer it with devotion, with a grateful heart. And Krishna's most pleased when we share with one another. Some of you are mothers, fathers. How much joy does it give you when your children affectionately share things with each other? Where do we get that natural, pious, parental affection? From Krishna and from Srimati Radharani. When they see that what Krishna's providing, we're using for his pleasure to share with one another. That's how we express our gratitude. And that's, as Srila Prabhupada would say, in bhakti, the method and the goal are the same. The goal is to serve, please, and love Krishna. And the method is according to whatever capacity we have, with whatever we have, whoever we are. We try to offer we understand it's all water to offer back to Mother Ganga. And we never lose. Internally we gain infinitely. So this is what Nityananda Charan Prabhu has invited us all to come and share in this festival of gratitude. And actually, I was not planning to say anything except thank you for coming. But because of Nityananda Charan Prabhu's introduction, he said I would make him happy if I said something. So I'm offering some of my little leaves and fruits and waters to you for your happiness. But I'm so grateful to you for sharing this great gift of bhakti with all these fortunate people. And I'm so grateful to all of you for receiving it from Nityananda Charan Prabhu. He has no motivation except to share the gift that he has been entrusted with. And the greatest happiness and the best way to be grateful to him is to receive it and to share it with one another. Kirtan is a very beautiful culture and science of bhakti, expressing our gratitude to God. We're receiving the mercy of the holy name, and we're chanting for God's pleasure and to help to enlighten and purify humanity and all living beings for God's pleasure. When I was a little boy, this is one of the greatest emphasis of my mother. The one thing that really made her sad was when we were ungrateful. If I took lunch at a friend's house, when I'd come home, did you thank them? And I'd say, thank them? I'm a boy. We don't do that kind of stuff. She would send me back to thank them. But she would do it not like she was strict, but in a very loving strictness. That you will never be happy in life, she said, unless you're grateful for what you receive. And unless you express your gratitude. If you have the capacity to express it, then it makes the gratitude real. So thank you for coming tonight. The cell phone was very special. Unless we're grateful for the unexpected challenges, then we can't really be grateful for all the very pleasing, favorable gifts. When we have a grateful consciousness, grateful to God, and grateful to all those who are well-wishers. When we learn to be grateful in this way, through bhakti, then we learn how we can find the presence of God's grace through our gratitude in all situations of life and even inevitable death. When we have a grateful heart and we're in this state of God consciousness, then there's no death. The nature of the soul is the light of God's love and gratitude. And we can be a part of that. How grateful. Whatever crazy things happen in this world, still I could be a little part of God's grace in this world. The more there's darkness, the more we recognize our gratitude when light comes, yes. We can be a spark of God's grace. And that's what Srila Prabhupada and all the wonderful saintly people have given us, an understanding how in our life we could be a part of God's grace. Whatever happens, still, we could be a part of God's grace. And we're grateful for that. We still have Krishna's holy names. Krishna's still in my heart forever. Sarve Sukhano Bhavantu. This is what a grateful heart feels. On behalf of God, let all beings be happy. Thank you very much.